What's up? It's me, John. All right, so we are definitely getting to the end here. Now we're going to apply all of your newfound knowledge about the biology of aging, the probably the most significant cost, financial burden of aging, and that's um, a decline in health and age-associated diseases, caregiving costs. We've gone through all these different aspects of aging, and then the how that applies to the bottom line of nations. Okay, all right. So we're going to go in and take a look at a couple of economic papers now. All right. So this is cool. We're transitioning to the wheelhouse of business majors, people that will work in government, do economic planning and things like that. All right. So you guys just completed your midterm, which is awesome. You guys are kicking ass here. That's good. We have the next midterm toward the end. Okay. In terms of the papers, you just finished the second paper. The only thing you have left, okay, if I click right here, hey, there's Joe. Okay. It's going to take me right into here, and the only thing that you have left is your interview paper, okay, which is so solid. Don't forget with the interview paper, get out your smartphone, okay, and with your smartphone, okay, you record an actual video of your parent, grandparent, whoever it is, aunt, uncle, and save it for posterity because your kids will really, really someday appreciate the passing on of the culture, the family culture that you got through your interview paper. And these, you ask some questions, you write down their answers, and then you interpret it with your newfound knowledge and you follow the directions. You're going to have citations, okay? And here's our rubric, okay? Outside references, boom, right there, all right? So it's a very professional paper, but it's going to be fun. Okay, cool. All right, so that's coming up right there. So what are we going to do? Let's jump into the economics, okay, of aging. Okay, so I'm going to scroll right down here. I mean, again, it's mind blowing how much you guys know now. You understand the global impact, okay? Numbers, right? You understand our nation transition in generations, okay? You've looked at the biology of why we're at risk for diseases like cancer, diabetes, metabolic syndrome associated with diabetes that causes heart disease, and then Alzheimer's. So again, you have a full grasp of this, and then the consequences of this unfortunate decline. Okay, and we're going to see today that sometimes we're just kicking the can down the road. The decline is going to happen, but just older. All right, so this period of you know dependent unhealthiness. Okay, all right, it's called morbidity. Could be actually extended. And so that's a financial burden. All right, and that's a burden on you in terms of caregiving and then on society in terms of Medicare, Medicaid, things like that. In terms of dealing with people, all you have to do is go to the hospital, and you're going to see that 99% of the people that you see in hospital rooms are old people, not young people. And so this is where our healthcare cost goes. Okay. All right. So we're going to look at that at the level of economic and social implications. What has to be done? Okay. And we're going to click right there. My lecture is going to go right here. All right. So this is the article right here, and you can see a lot of it is such review for you guys, which is kind of awesome. Okay. So again, we're looking at why we have what we have. Okay, so we see this graph. These are called age pyramids. Females illustrated on the right side, males illustrated on the left side by age group right here. Okay, they kind of separate it out in terms of the gold people down here are dependent on the working population right here. Okay, and the gold people here are dependent on the working population. So that's less than, okay, 15 and older than 65. Okay, and you see that the the age dependency ratio obviously gets bigger. Okay, a lot more older people, and again these are ratios. Okay, and so we're looking at that right there, and something to think about. All right, so you guys understand all this. I'm not going to read through this. It's all about the population aging across the world. Okay, you understand what the drivers are. Okay, so we have two things. We have reduced fertility but childbearing. You guys, a lot of you are 20 years old, 21, 22. Um, biologically, okay, the way we were designed, just like all the animals that run through the trees wildly. As human beings, if we were still running through the trees wildly, you guys at age 22 should probably have had 4 children already, okay? And we're not, all right? So that's just the reality of it. So we have this really low fertility, okay? And what's driving that for us, okay? Well, we're delaying reproduction, okay, because there's lots of training that has to go. We have lots of technological advances that are in the labor market that require lots and lots and lots more schoolage, training, tutelage. These two words together, okay? And so you're sitting there balancing. Um, do I have children, or do I wait and and get trained so I can have a much better situation later on? Exactly what I did with Julia. Okay, so I met her. She had just turned 20 years of age. A week before I met her, I was 26 and a half, almost 27. Got my PhD. She moved out to LA with me. She worked in a cancer lab. Time flies. She was then 24 and a half when we got married. I was 31. Okay. She went to law school, got her law degree. Next thing um, we had known each other for almost 12 years before we had our first child. Okay, why? Because we were poor and we wanted to get ourselves ahead. We wanted to get ourselves ahead, and we made that decision. As a result, we only had 2 kids, and that was barely. Okay. All righty. So that's not, as you'll see later on, that's not a replacement rate. All right. All right. So one issue. The other driver, of course, is falling mortality. Okay, people live longer because modern medicine, hygiene, etc., social support creates a perfect kind of culture medium for people to live for much longer and have a um, much greater increase in life expectancy. Right. So what are the implications? Okay. So we've talked about this. It has major implications in terms of society's economics. So with societies and economies, labor markets, okay, and what you need to do in terms of savings and social welfare. What does that all mean? Okay, I'm going to live longer, I had better put away a lot of money. Okay, if I'm going to live longer, you know what? Maybe I'm not going to quit. Okay, so that's going to impact your labor market. Okay, if I'm going to live longer, I'm going to be having Social Security pay me for a lot longer period of time. And in terms of labor markets, we need more of you guys to be paying into the labor market. If not, we're going to have to raise your Social Security taxes. Okay. So yeah, so these are all big time things to think about it if you were an economist. Okay. Alrighty, so all right, older people live longer. Same time, younger people are having fewer children. Right. So bottom line is, There's a lot more of us that want our Social Security. We want our Medicare. Um, and the bottom line, it's not like all the money I put into that system my whole life went into a bank and earned interest. No, no, no. It was just paying out, paying out. And now the money you put in pays out to me. And so we need more of you, but you guys are having fewer children. All right. So that's what they're just talking about, the interaction of the two, of decreased fertility and increased longevity. All right. All righty, right. So now we get into kind of market concerns, the business aspect right here. Okay. And so the reality when we look at economic effects, okay, and age composition, all right, um, we are an economic burden. Okay, old people, all right, because we're not putting as much money into the system and we're pulling out more. Okay, and that's the bottom line. Okay, and we look at things about through the life course, and the other thing that's happening is you guys are not entering in early either. Okay, the kind of developmental period has kind of extended, so you're living at home a lot longer than you used to. Okay, so that means there's a much greater burden on the working public in the middle. All right, so when I was 18, I moved out. That was it. I never returned home. I got a job. I went to school. My parents didn't give me a penny. Okay, far different world now. So far competitive, more difficult for you guys. So you're sticking at home, still living off your parents' income, um, and then your parents are also having to pay for caregiving for their parents, your grandparents, and also a social security system, et cetera. So you can see where the money is going. We don't have the best flow. Okay. Now, how do we address this deficit? Okay. You guys got to have more kids. Have more kids. Put more people into the working public. Okay. And alternatively, we bring in people. Okay, that can pay into the system, so that will decrease the financial burden on you. Okay. Um, more people at the bottom of that pyramid. Okay, down here, more people at the bottom of the pyramid. If this was bigger, you'd be paying for these people up here. It'd be less of a burden. All right? That's the way you look at it. Okay. Um, and we can just see this right here again, the shift. All right, in terms of and when they're looking at here, this is the organization that did the analysis. So this is the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, and that's what they call this right here. Okay. And you see, in terms of um, you know the aging change and where the burden is going to be financially. All right, so we got to we have to have solutions. All right, you can have more kids. Okay, we're going to increase immigration. All right, we got to reconfigure health and long-term care provisions. So this is an ongoing battle. Okay, we saw it during the Obama presidency. All right, we're trying to get insurance to cover it. We just saw it in the last lecture. Okay, that how much of your income goes towards the premium that you pay. Okay, and then the individual services. And for some people, that eats up their entire month. If you're just on Social Security. So it's a big problem. Um, so one way to fix the issue is people work longer and they pay into the system longer, right? But that means more competition for you in terms of the workplace, okay? So we're also, like I said, we're going to refinance healthcare systems, all right? There's, certainly a huge push. If you look at Kaiser Permanente commercials, it's all about wellness, and so they want people as they get older to be, in better health so that they're less of a drain on insurance companies and less of a drain and then on, the minimal insurance that is Medicare and Medicaid. Okay. Yes, we pay into it, but it's also supported by government funds. Okay. And we see that through your Medicare taxes. Okay. All righty. So when you postpone frailty and disability, you'll see like this concept and read through this that we're just kicking the can down the road. And it is what it is, and it's healthcare costs. We saw that in your CT2 and how much they are and what a percentage they are of the income. Okay, we got to address this social challenge and they kind of review what we're talking about. All right. Again, this family dynamic structure, okay, fertility falls, okay, and the generation between the interval, okay, between generations, I mean the difference between your age and your grandparents increases, okay. So now the burden's more on you guys, okay. Um, yeah, so it's a very big change in the family dynamics, okay. And this is this delaying life transition. One delay is I'm not going to quit. I'm going to stay in the workplace longer. Another life transition is for you guys, and that because what's happened in the world is that you need better training to have a really good job, and so you're still a dependent as well. Like let's talk about, and that's what this is about here. Okay. Alrighty, and all these differences and transitions, it changes the what we call the intergenerational contract. Okay, what was that contract? Okay, the initial contract was, you you, you have kids young, you get them going young, um, so that when you retire, they're financially set, and then they can take care of you. It's the contract, okay? And what we've done is we've really extended that time. So now when I'm ready to retire, my kids aren't there. All right. So I better get my stuff together on my own. And so, and some people luckily can, some people can't. Okay. All right. And this again, is looking at life expectancy and healthy life expectancy, and it shows you the socio-economic impact. Okay, um, yes, money does let you live longer. All right, cool. So that's what that article is all about. Okay, then we go into a really cool article here that was NPR. It just talks about what people are going through. Okay, and in this particular article, they highlight a couple of people. So this guy right here, okay, Bob Orozco, actually lives in my neighborhood. Lives in Laguna Niguel, California. That's where I live. Live right above the fire station. If anybody knows that it is, right off Golden Lantern. Okay, he's 89 years old. He's he's working because he wants to be fulfilled, and I get it. You don't want to be bored. Okay, says right here, 1 in 4 adults 65 and older is now in the workforce, and you can click on this. It takes you to another article. And because of the fact that we're living longer, we need our money longer. We've had a couple dips in terms of our 401k, okay, the 2008 collapse, and now this COVID-19 collapse. The number of people in this age group that are working is the fastest growing number of workers at any level. So you'll see a lot of people that work that are now bagging groceries that are older. Okay. All right, so this, and it goes through, Bob's story right here. We all rely. We're going to go over 401ks. We rely on 401ks or our individual retirement accounts, which we do independently. 401k is backed by the workplace. USC has a very nice one, and they lose their values, and it's scary when they lose their values when you're Bob's age or my age. Okay, so yes, the recession of 2008 blew people out of the water that were tapping into that money. Okay, luckily I was able to look away and keep it invested, and it came raging back. But now boom, it goes down again. So this is a difficult cycle, and that's why you've got to get more conservative in your investments when you get the Bob phase. You move to bonds, have a little bit more money market instead of having equities. We'll talk about that later. That comes up in 2 weeks, baby. All right. So we look here, and it said this is the median. Okay, that there's $150,000 in savings. This includes the value of your home, whatever type of retirement account you have, okay, and money in the bank. All right. So you know, if you're 65 years old and that's all you have, and you wanted to retire, you're screwed. Okay, that's not enough. In reality, we're going to learn later on that the median retirement account. All right, so this includes the value of your house, but the median retirement account in our country. This is like we stacked everybody over 65 years of age in our country, and went from people that have zero money to people that have the most money. We got right to the middle, $16,000. Okay, all righty, not much. So Bob goes through his scenario, okay, and it's a pretty cool article, and then and they talk about the survey right here. You can click to the AARP, got to it, and then it talks about somebody else here, okay. She's 65 years old, okay. She raised 2 children. She's divorced, um, and she had to get into affordable housing, okay. Um, it says right here, almost 80% of her Social Security is spent on rent. Okay, she's left with, imagine this, $245 a month for everything else. 245. That's dinner. Okay, for a lot of you. So yeah, and any other problems? Okay, what about the healthcare costs that we talked about? Okay, this is why people in this age group need to have um, help and supplementation for their healthcare insurance. All right, and then there's another example. So these are just life examples that are really really cool. All right, cool. So then we come over here. So these are kind of stressful times, and we come down here to the discussion, and we look at joblessness and what the impact it has on people. Okay, and we look. We want you guys to kind of go run through it and look at your work experience and how it affects your aging experience. I have been a professor at UC for 30 years. My wife was, Julia, was a practicing attorney for 18 years. Took a break because of her health consequences you learned about in this class, and because of the contract with our kids. It's raising them. It was difficult. We had a bad nanny, all these kind of things. Tough decision. She's now back working 7 years again as a part-time professor. So we're doing pretty well. So we can do the best we can for our health, eat healthy food, have time to exercise, we can afford the most expensive insurance so we can see the best doctors. This is, how my life trajectory is influenced. Then you look at somebody that's a low paying job and how their life trajectory is influenced. Okay. All right. So that's what this is all about. All right, guys. So love you guys. This is cool. We're so close to being done. We're going to get into some really nitty gritty investments here coming up, and we'll see you next time.